So episode number one, this is the first one in the series that I'm creating. My first two guests are Indre Kaikare and Dr. Miguel Damas. So Dr. Miguel is a biohacking MD and is developing a human performance medicine to help people reach their optimal state. So rather than a reactive approach to how we approach medicine, more proactive and combining mental wellness and mental well-being to medicine to make sure that we can perform optimally all the time. And then Indre has a phenomenal track record as a founder, as well as working in startups. She worked for the Surfshark team in recruitment, so essentially helped build the Surfshark team, which went on to become a unicorn. And she's building a phenomenal founders community in Lisbon, a huge network of international founders building startups and doing great things here in Portugal. The great thing about both of these founders and leaders is that they're very authentic. They are incredibly approachable and hugely enthusiastic about what they're doing every single day. And more than that, they know how to prioritize health. So things that you'll learn about within this podcast are, number one, is how to prioritize health. Number two, approaching things with a huge amount of passion and how to recruit, how to track things, and how to find balance. So stay on for the content and look forward to sharing what I've learned. Specifically for me in this podcast, you'll see I'm quite rigid and quite stuck in my approach here. It was my very first podcast, so as I learn and evolve through this series, you'll see my evolution as someone being able to hold better conversations. Yeah, so this is the first episode. Welcome. Very happy to have you both here. And
congratulations.
Yeah, as we were discussing it, but it's just that it's that thing of just asking, you know. So Indre was saying that you've been a massive inspiration to me in terms of just do, right? Like just ask for help and those things come. I was on your podcast, which was really great, but something that's really exciting for me is that you created this amazing community of founders in Lisbon. And there's a huge expat community of founders. They're coming into Lisbon, like doing cool things. But more than that, it's not a business group. It's like a lifestyle group for entrepreneurs where they can absolutely be themselves. And I think that inspired me around this podcast to say, okay, a lot of people take these crazy paths in life. They end up in different places where they live. They end up in different success points. And what does that journey look like for a lot of people, and how can we kind of map that blueprint out? I've had a crazy journey myself, and let's just start having the conversation. So this is the start of that conversation. So you've been a massive inspiration to me in that.
I'm honored.
It's been very cool to watch. And Dr., like your journey's also been crazy. So, you know, starting with medical practice, now biohacking, also working with entrepreneurs, optimizing performance. So it's really been like crazy stories that I'd love to chat to or follow on the conversations that we've been having around it anyway.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. So what are you busy with at the moment? You've got this crazy journey, and now you're doing something in terms of optimizing healthy people. What does that mean?
Yeah. So it basically means to make sure that people are closer to their goals wherever they are, and not being limited by their body, their brain, or their mind. So it's what I call go beyond average, because when you look into everything in life, you kind of need to choose: will I go through the most crowded path, usually the easiest one, or will I go for my own path? And people, when start going on that journey, it literally means going beyond average. So what I love to do is to take people, companies, and help them go beyond average and be closer to what they do by optimizing their health, whether it's through medicine, nutrition, sports science, biohacking, performance coaching, whatever it is that will help those individuals, those systems, to get closer to where they want to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so Yeah, I think that the averages is kind of where the enemy sits in terms of being like really great at something. And, to consistently beat averages, you have to be consistent every single day.
Yep.
And then you have to analyze some sort of data or feedback in terms of, your business, your life, your mental state, etc. And I noticed that you're both wearing sort of tracking rings. So you're
Yeah.
married to yourselves and your health.
Yes.
What was the start for you in starting to wear a ring?
Well, it's an interesting story because I bought this as a gift to my husband.
Okay.
And then I was just like waking him up and like, show me your phone. I need to see your metrics. I was so curious about how he slept and everything. And then I realized I need to get one for myself
All right.
because it's super interesting. It's like to see to understand what you should or should not do before going to sleep, how much of the exercising you should do, what time works better for you. So for me, I think it's mainly the sleep to be really refreshed in the morning.
And I mean, are you finding like that's translating into your business life? Are you finding it's translating into sort of your health and, sort of your balance and things? Like, how is it actually making a meaningful impact outside of just knowing the data?
So first of all, I think the most important thing that I'm not sick anymore. If I am, it's only a few days, so I'm feeling a better life for myself physically, right? When I'm strong physically, so my mind is strong because I feel like I'm controlling myself, like I can do good things for myself and it's working. And then of course at work, I'm performing better because I'm like stronger in my physical and mental health.
Yeah. I definitely find that. So like, if I start my day with a good workout and I have good structure, so if I own the time that I wake up and then I own the time that I train, I find that then spills over into everything else for the rest of the day. I feel like completely in control of what needs to happen and when things need to happen.
Definitely.
If I oversleep, I miss my workout, I feel like I'm on the back foot for the rest of the day. And I find it really difficult to even put down my to-do list in a structured way and tick that off. And I finish the day very busy, but I actually often don't feel very accomplished. So like this mental state that we get into is quite crazy. But one thing I worry about, and doctor, you can just tell us, like, I worry about over tracking. Like I can become so obsessive on it, it can really impact me in a negative way. I'm like, well, what does my lifting look like? What does my financial performance look like in my business? Like these things, you get so much data. Like, isn't we entering a period like now where we can actually be over tracking things?
Well, definitely. But then word says that you cannot improve what you cannot measure. And there's most things in health you cannot measure. But there are a few things that you can, and then you have to choose to do so. Whenever I suggest any kind of wearable to anyone, I ask them, are you comfortable with data? Do you like data? Because if you don't like, it is overwhelming. Like waking up every day looking, geez, my resting heart rate is this, or my HRV is that, what can I do? But if you like the game of it, if you like to go every day on the scale and see, well, I lost half a kilo since yesterday, so whatever I did, it is serving me good. If I start lifting more, it shows like it's a non-disputable measure of your efforts today for you to go towards your goals. So measuring data just for the sake of it is overwhelming, but as a mean to go to an end, it's very useful.
Yeah, I get you. So I think that you also have to prep yourself mentally in terms of how you want to approach the feedback. So like I said, like I'm data obsessed, I'm tracking obsessed. One of the standards for me is a daily weigh-in. And what I found, and good feedback from my wife is like, hey, you're letting that put you in a bad mood. So I'd start my day, I'd get on the scale, like, oh, I've gone 500 grams up, like what is going on? And that would then also change my state of mind for the rest of the day, which is something that I've had to like really work on. Say like, hey, this is a process, and I'm watching the process of this. This is not an indication of my current success. And so, you have to recalibrate your mind in terms of data, in terms of what the data is going to generate for you mentally.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when it comes to lose weight, I can definitely say that the only reason I was able to lose around 50 kgs was because I decided
Congratulations,
to...
Bob.
Thank you.
That's really impressive.
Well, yeah, fun story. the day I realized that I've lost a bunch of weight was when I took the first flight, and first low cost seats start become like business seats. They were so spacious all of a sudden.
Massive win.
And
yes.
then the second is that I realized that the weight that I lost, if I would put on suitcase, I would have to pay extra in order to be able to fly with it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that if I haven't decided to weight myself daily as a daily motivation, a daily accountability, in the second day of 5-year journey up until this point, I would have given up because I was feeling so awful, like a massive headache. But I went into the scale and I had lost 2 kgs. And I literally remember telling myself, well, you need to cope with it because it's working. So whatever it is, just deal with it. It's working. So that's the power of data. That's the power of the short term, having to deal with short term if you go into a long-term goal.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. If you create a positive feedback loop on that information, it'll help you replicate it, even though it's difficult, right? Like, and so then you build new reward markers in your life, which then motivates you to keep on consistently doing the same behavior. But I think that there's also like an Indre, you were speaking about this, is like this curiosity around information that you have and then how you apply changes, right? So just you tell me about the red wine. What was going on with red wine with you?
I moved to Portugal, and everyone is drinking wine because wine is so good, and it's like, like a cultural thing. And I was like, how to behave? Wine is good, but is it really healthy? And then I went to the nutrition specialist, and I asked her, and she's like, well, 1 glass per day of wine is nothing. And I'm like, really? But then I started noticing the metrics, like how I wake up and how do I feel. And as you said, like, well, in the mornings, every morning I do at least 10-15 minutes yoga and 10-15 minutes meditation. And if I have wine in the evening, I don't do that because I'm too tired. Or if I work until very late and going to sleep, I'm too tired. I'm not doing my morning routine, right? So I think all these metrics, and because sometimes you feel it, but you lie to yourself, but maybe it's okay, maybe nothing. But when it's recorded and you see it on your phone, you understand it better somehow, right? It's just like reflected in front of your face.
It's an accountability sort of check-in, right? Like that you can't deny. It's like it's very easy to say, oh, I kind of missed yoga today, or I kind of missed that meditation today. It's one day. It's not a bad thing, but
when you see a few days in a row,
exactly, a few days in a row, and it's like you realize that you've now incorporated wine into the averages, which we're speaking about, instead of the outlier. Then that's going to change the averages of the other behavior that you have, and so more often than not, you're not doing things that are really good for you.
And I think it also falls down into the question of choice.
Yeah,
I know that wine, taking your example, you know that wine will cause this, and that. But then I choose because it's this event and I just want to taste this very great wine, etc. And then I will create I'll know what I do to minimize the impact, whether it is more hydration, electrolytes, or meditating more, or changing my schedule next day to not have so heavy lifting work. And that's that's a decision. That's a choice. That's a decision. I'm going for optimum, but then if I sleep, I know what to do, and I'm just not waiting for things to come.
Yeah, I think that's true. For me, it's like with the awareness around the impact of the actions that I'm taking, I can model my lifestyle around that. And so for me, I love food. I really love food. And I woke up with the decision, okay, I don't want to be overweight anymore. Like that's been a mental state. And the thing that I added to that is like, I'm not that person anymore. So even like something stupid like stop biting my nails, it was a really hard habit to break. But what I just woke up every day is like, I'm not a person who bites my nails. And so it's the same with my training. I'm a person who loves to train. I am a person who doesn't like to overeat. And so on the days where I know that there's going to be a big food intake coming in, I say like, I'm going to do that at one sitting. So I will go crazy at one sitting, and that'll be my only meal for the day. It'll have a good macro balance in terms of everything that I need to take in, but the benefit for me is volume. I love volume. I'm not a foodie. It's more like I rate quality by how much I get, not how long it was prepared. And that mindset change really helped me, because then it lets me get through the weekends, which are my typically sort of bad times. Like, I know there's going to be social events. I know I'm going to have to go to whatever and visit with whoever. So I don't want to be that person at the table like, well, I'm not eating that because it doesn't fit with my macros. I'm like, I want to eat everything. But when I get home in my quiet time, I'm not going to eat again. So it's a way that I've found that you can build some good structure around food.
Yeah, definitely. And it when it brings it to entrepreneurship, then in terms of the how much you get from the people that work with you and how much you hire, and even talent retention nowadays seems like giving more than just the financial, and being able to support people seems to be a big factor into people choosing to work here or there. And knowing that there's a policy, there's a culture in a company that will take care of you, will put you in this our in-house performance program if you want, and the worst possible scenario is that you'll get more healthy, more performance, and happier.
Yeah.
So that's I don't know if you see it.
I had actually very interesting experience of joining one startup. So there was just only CEO, and he hired me to build a team. And the plan was to grow very fast and to build a product very fast. And we made this bet that we won't drink alcohol for at least 3 months in order, to achieve all the goals. And it was amazing. It's like, so first of all, it's like me, I'm on a mission, and I know that he is also too. And it's so like very much supporting. And it went so like really surprisingly well. We built a product within a month. We launched it like on time. Usually you're always late, and we weren't, because we were not only concentrating on work. No, we didn't work all the time, but we replaced sitting and drinking wine and partying with friends into some other activities, which gives you like boost you with energy, right?
Awesome.
So it shouldn't be like no one is drinking at the company, but you can agree on some like gamification projects you're making, and then it's like an amazing achievement. You are healthy, you don't have any burnout, and you did the thing, you achieved the thing you were planning to.
And at the end of the 3 months, was there some sort of reward factor in not drinking? Did you guys go all out, or did the behavior kind of become set? What was it like?
Yeah, we had a party because there was a launch, but I think it already became a habit, right?
Yes,
So, well, we're still like focusing on what is important, right? So we're not wasting our energy.
Yeah.
So I believe that it's important, of course, if you're not healthy enough or something, you should not drink alcohol at all. But at some periods of time, it's really nice to celebrate and just, to feel that, but not every day. Because if it's every day, then there's no celebration out of it.
Yeah, I think reward is a big component of it, and even in my daily tracking of sort of things is that there's the first piece is the action I took. The second piece is reflection on that action. How did it make me feel? And then there's an element of reward. And so I try to give daily rewards. So telling myself I'm a good boy or whatever that is I find ways to sort of build reward into that, so it reinforces the behavior that I want to carry in. But and I've also been in a startup where the same thing, but we had it slightly more, is that we had blood tests once a month, weigh-in once a month. Everything was kind of like checked in terms of like real deep diving on health. And I responded really well to that, but I found others found it quite invasive. It's like, hey, we're going to do this thing, and I'm the CEO, and this is how we manage health, and you are all leadership, therefore you must adhere to these things. Have you seen it go bad in terms of recruitment or in terms of hiring, where some ego sort of overtakes the benefit of what they're trying to build?
I believe so, because it has to be mutual agreement. And I think what leaders of the company, like founders or managers, should do is to find the way how for people to make the decision to behave in this way. Because if you're just making them to live their personal life differently, it's too much, right? It's just like you have to find the consensus about this. It's not delegating healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, and setting a 3-month thing is like, but then we're going to launch this after that, and there's going to be a great celebration on that.
Exactly.
Get some sort of temporary status, and then people buy into that if they feel the benefits, and might replicate that behavior over a long time. Yeah.
But isn't it also a question on the people that you want to hire? Because definitely there are people that find that to be too invasive, and I don't want it. I don't want my boss to know about my blood or my sleep. But the other people will see it as a great opportunity to make sure that they get the most out of it. So I found it sometimes it can be, I just want people that accept it and see the potential in it to be part of my team. Obviously, if you're running 100,000 people, you may have to lose it, but it's also almost a selection or a cultural thing.
Yeah, definitely culture. I think that you try to create a core culture especially in startups, of people who are like-minded, people who are going to accept a lot of crazy requests. Startups ask a lot of people, they're beyond the 9 to 5. They don't operate typically, and there is this chaos culture that exists. And so when you do hire, you kind of want to check that. Like, you might not hire someone in peak physical condition, but you might hire someone in peak physical curiosity. And if you're in peak physical curiosity, you tend to ask more questions about your health. You ask more questions about the status quo. So when your nutritionist says, hey, 1 glass of wine's not bad, you immediately like, is that true? Like, and I'm going to measure some things that I'm feeling in myself that don't quite match to that. So nutritionally, maybe, but holistically not. And so there's a high curiosity drive in people. And so you have to check that and say, okay, so I'm going to get some buy-in for some crazy things I'm going to ask you to do as a CEO. Like, that's a really important piece of it. And without becoming like a dictator in the business.
Yeah. But I know there's a company that's called the Whoop bracelet. They give a month prize. Anyone that achieves a higher than, I think it's 85 measure on recovery or sleep, they receive a month bonus on that.
Oh wow!
So they really make their staff feel better, which will definitely, and that's 100% guarantee that will correlate with either performance or at least happiness in the workplace. That's a guarantee.
And you can speak to this well. As you've moved from Lithuania, you're in Portugal. Your team is quite geographically split up.
Yeah.
Are you finding ways to create sort of health prioritization in your team, or do you find that there's a natural element? Like, what does health look like within your business?
Well, I think what I do firstly is like share a lot, like what gadgets I'm using and what is my score. And sometimes I'm like, well, I think I'm sick because this morning my score is very low. So maybe I will take a break and I won't do sports. And we're sharing our calendar. So always showing that after work, I'm going to do this or to the gym or surfing or something. So I think it's a little bit inspiring others. And like, some people start going to gyms, some people start going to dancing classes, but it's like, if a company's leader is doing many things proactively, somehow you're comparing yourself to them and you're like, maybe I should also find a hobby for myself, right? Because it's like, it's so interesting. And it's not like I'm forcing or saying something. So, and we have a lot of discussions, like I do meditate. Some people write journal. So maybe it's better for them, right? Some people do walks, some people run. It's like different activities, right? But by doing that and talking about this a lot, I think it gives others some ideas like, what am I doing? Am I doing anything, right? So I should find something for myself, at least to try out and to see how I feel. And those who try, I think they all see the benefits, right?
Yeah, it is true. And it used to be the smokers corner that had the biggest sort of cultural attachment, right? Like the smokers would sort of get together, like that's where all the business ideas were happening. And now we're getting this health corner, right? Like, hey, my sleep metrics are X, and I lost so much. Let's do a weight loss challenge together. And I think that the way that we're thinking about the workplace and the culture that we're building is very different. And hey, why not go for a surf with your team in the morning? Go do a surfing lesson, and like let some of these good habits sort of take place. And you're still getting the social component of what you need to build in the culture. It really is like the world is completely evolving as we see around health.
Yeah, and what we do, like when we have vacations, so there are younger people, so they go for some parties and other activities, but us as a team, we do hiking, or I don't know, we just perform some activities when we are feeling like we accomplished something, especially by doing this together. And there's so much more satisfaction than going into the party, because next day maybe you said something too much in the evening or so. There's still many things you're remembering in the morning and not so happy about it. But after all these great activities, you're proud of yourself and the other team members, right? So you just bond better.
Yeah, definitely. In one of the companies I worked with, you see exponential growth in sexual harassment cases after party the night before, right? Like you see this, and alcohol gets involved, and you have almost like a cultural breakdown when it's not balanced or it's not met. So like I think there's a place for it, but I think the management on these things and injecting like healthy options is like or rewarding options like that is quite good.
Just out of curiosity, did you find that during those hiking events, better brainstorming ideas or better performance in the week after, or better output, whatever you would measure performance?
I do. I think it's because, first of all, we get a lot of chemicals extracted in our body, like dopamine, serotonin. Everyone starts feeling more confident because you did this hike, right? So you're super strong. And I think people tend to start being more open in terms of being more proactive, offering things and doing, because there's like self-confidence, and you already, as a partner, you already achieved something at the leisure time, so why not to do something, at work? So definitely yes.
Yeah, so that's amazing. And if you try to put some rough numbers of it, how much does it cost the hiking? Pretty much nothing.
Exactly.
But then the outcome is so great that even in a big number perspective, it's also a very positive reward on focusing on health in priming the human performance. It's great.
Yeah, and community, right? Like community generates health. Like good community also generates good health. And so if you're building this community, you're doing tough things like a hike is tough or whatever it is, like you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone in a safe and rewarding way. The community that builds around that, in the stories, there's a good human connection that builds within the culture of your team. I'm just wondering how we get everyone to take cold showers as a way to sort of promote it. And I don't mean at the office. We don't want cold showers at the office. But what I'm saying is like, like you were saying that 30%, there's a 30% reduction in sick days because of cold showers.
Yeah. So there's papers, evidence published, literally saying that if you do hot to cold showers, which means you take your hot shower and then you put 30 seconds on the coldest setting and you're just there, it reduces sick leave days by 30%.
Yeah.
So that has immense impact in both personally and company-wise. So how do we make people do it? Actually, it's, at least what I believe in, it's about explaining the impact that event can have on them and how it will prime them to be or to be closer to where they want to go. If there's a saying, I think it's in Ericeira, or either Ericeira or Nazaré, by the seaside, they have sayings on rocks just by the sea, and one of them say in Portuguese, and I'll try to translate, is se não sabes para onde o vento vai, nunca sabes o caminho, which basically translates, if you not know where you want to go, the wind will never blow in favor. And so if you want to go their way and there's someone that explains you, look, by taking cold showers, this will happen to your body, to your brain, to your mind, and it will put you 3% closer to your destination. Do you want to take the ride?
Yeah.
And usually people found, actually, yes, I'm curious about it. That's what we were saying about fit, health, curiosity. And when they start, like we say that it's the best, one of the best ways to avoid being cold and to boost immune system. And that's plenty of evidence published. This is not voodoo science. There's plenty of evidence showing it. The same way that a community, belonging to a community, will reduce the harmful part of stress face the same event. So in other words, the same, if you either feel isolated or within a community, the same macro event will have less negative impact in the community.
And why is that? Is that because you're sharing it, or you're able to talk about it? Like,
Actually,
what is the main difference in terms of the two
yes,
scenarios?
both as a psychological side to it, but as a hormonal side to it. The impact that cortisol has, both the release and the effect it has in the body. So cortisol is the major stress hormone, will be decreased. So that's the sociological part, that's the ecological part, but that's neurobiology part.
Okay.
So in all the three areas, being part of a community, that's why the founders group that you found, it's so marvelous and so impactful in so many different layers that will impact. It will have a significant result in
So
people.
that's why CrossFitters always seem so happy, right? Like they're in the community, and they're
definitely.
like, we can just handle anything.
Definitely.
And tell everybody that you do CrossFit, right?
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Because there's another identity that comes with, well, I'm a CrossFitter. Same way, if you say, well, I'm an Ironman, you already have a clear picture of who are Ironmans. What need, so putting 15, 16, 20-hour training weeks on top of, usually most people are very busy. And they just tackle the biggest challenge they can get. So this is like with CrossFit. It's usually people that train a lot. So that's a big part of it.
This is my opportunity to say that I've done an Ironman. I've actually done a few of them.
Oh, really?
So if you've done an Ironman, you have to tell people you've done an Ironman.
Of course.
Like it really establishes something. But it's I think that you do get some sort of identity in terms of the activities that you take daily. But I think if you look at like cold showers as a concept, that's like a really miserable concept for a lot of people. And if you apply the learning to people within your organization and only 10% of the organization does it, the reward is still going to be massive for you, right? Like, so 10% of your team finding a way to optimize themselves, and then finding, the sort of the next 10% optimizer for the other people who don't want to do the cold showers, et cetera, et cetera. This is a really good way to find pockets of excellence and higher performance across your team. So not everyone's going to buy into everything. I've got people in my team who absolutely are. They're a little bit of a hermit. They don't like to be outdoors. The idea of exercise terrifies them. And so finding a middle ground in terms of what rewards them without physical exertion is another way, because I think that we tend to classify, and this was me for a long part of my life, is that physical exertion for me was health. How hard could I push myself physically was an indicator that I'm healthy. And now I'm swinging way more the other side. Like, actually, what do I eat and how well do I sleep? These are really good indicators of health. And now my exercise is not about trying to go and do 2 hours of killing myself. It's like, do 30 minutes of real high quality, and then spend the rest of the day focusing on the other elements to reduce my stress, to improve my sleep, to improve my relationships, etc. So the concept of health is quite different to a lot of people, and you have to find a model that fits.
Definitely, it's not the exertion that makes you healthy, it's the recovery, it's your ability to recover. So that the rings and wearables on the sleep that we were talking about makes so much sense, because it's the ability for you to recover, to keep on going. That's bad, because everyone can, most people can go up in the morning and run 20K. Well, without time limits, but they will feel awful afterwards. And probably if you're not used to run, they will stay like a month hurting.
Yeah.
But so it's the ability to train and recover and train and recover. It's a way. It's the consistency is not making things once, but every time. Even with success in terms of entrepreneurship, is not making right decisions once. It's not hiring the right people once. It's time and time again that
Yeah.
will put you closer to success.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Definitely, it should be long term, not short term. And if
Yeah.
it's short term, so you will stop with that. So, but I think it's very personal. What kind of the activities or things to practice? Like for example, with cold showers, I was hearing a lot of researches and the results, and I was not convinced that I have to start it. But once my friend gave me an amazing advice. He's like, when I do the cold shower, like mentally, then I'm so well prepared for all the bad things which can happen to me, right? Because cold water is the worst thing which can happen to you in the morning, and you survived it, right? So whatever happens that day, it won't harm you as much. So you're like prepared. And I started doing that, and it's like, yes, psychologically, I'm perfectly ready. And then after doing it for, I don't know, a few months only, I started being less and less sick. Or if I get some virus or something, I get back on track very quickly.
Yeah.
So, because to see the long-term result, it's you have to invest a lot. So you
Yeah.
cannot just start believing in nothing. I think you need to find some kind of the like explanation why you're doing that.
Yeah.
And for me, like to start being again very active with sports was surfing. So I started surfing, and my surfing coach was like, what other sports you doing? I'm like, yoga. It's okay, good for balancing. But what about the rest? I'm like, nothing. It's like, but
Yeah.
you know, it's like very physical intensive, and you need to do that. Okay, so I started going to the gym, taking swimming classes, like doing some other, you know, activities for me to be ready for surfing. So if you have a goal, any kind of, then you're more likely to do that, you know, daily routines, because you know the end result. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we were referring to, the psychological thing of the cold shower, is always, it's amazing if you think about it, because you there's I read somewhere online that's they call the flinch. Because if you think about the concept of being on a hot shower and voluntarily put your hands on the knob and turn it to the cold,
Yeah. Yeah.
you instinctively you take the hand out, right? So it's your body, it's your mind protecting yourself from something that will hurt,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So that's the flinch.
Yeah.
And it is the same, preventing you from going to a cold shower as it is to go into a room and have a very hard conversation or doing something that you know you'll hurt. It's the same protection system. So if you train yourself during the cold shower of going over, that's called a flinch,
Yes.
it will translate into every other area in which you have to overcome it. And I had a client that told me that once, said, look, doctor, I was going to... I need to have a tough conversation with this person. And once I called, said, we need to talk, I said to myself, well, I'm already in the cold shower. All good now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
it takes, it is an amazing part from a biological and neurological perspective on just cold showers.
Yeah. So I think because your body can't differentiate the fear, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Fear is fear.
It's protection.
And it's protection, exactly. And so overcoming that is the thing that you have to do. But you know, like that unlocks so much for you in your life. And like, I don't want to focus too much on showers. I don't want to sound like a shower freak here. But the reality is that, okay, I want to learn something new. That's really scary. I want to make a fool of myself. Learning a new language. It's like, you know, the courage to, and in Portugal, it's like really difficult because you learn Portuguese, but then you walk into whatever convenience store, and the minute they hear you suck, they like go straight to English. And then the courage to say, no, I want to carry on in Portuguese. And, you know, that courage comes from being able to overcome the fear and the flinch and say, like, I'm going to do it. Like, it's nothing bad can really happen to me. So I think, and probably sick days decrease quite a lot because the suckiest part of your day is over. So you might as well go to work, right? Like you've been in the cold shower, so you're awake now and you've kind of washed the mud out. So you're ready to go.
Probably. Yeah, probably. It's the same. It's mind. It's actually a great example of mind over body, right? That's where yoga comes in as well, with the meditation, etc. It's the making sure that our body is helping us and not controlling us.
Yeah.
I only know you in like a semi-professional context with you, but you both seem very calm all the time. I don't get an idea that there's a stressful person or an anxious person behind you. Is that true? Are you stressed? Do you find that you get stressed easily?
Well, I'm thinking about myself that I'm like very stressful and anxious because it's like I want to do many things and it's all the time like I would say like maybe most of the time I'm like hyper energetic, but what I've understood and not so long time ago is the meditation, the power of the meditation. So it's not a drug to make you calm. You can still be very active, but you're not wasting your energy, right?
Okay.
You're just focusing and you're using it on the things you really want, not all the time, because if you use it for wrong things, then you won't have it for the good ones, right? So maybe it's this, and for me, it's like as you said, like your mind should help your body. I think it's both ways because your body also should help your mind, right? And when I'm meditating, I'm tracking my brain waves. So I'm,
Oh, really?
yeah, to
Nice.
see
Love
how
it.
calm I am. And sometimes it's really
A
good.
Dalai Lama indicator, like you've reached Zen, you know.
Almost, this is the goal, what it really happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what it's very interesting is like I feel quite okay, but I measure it and it's like only 60%. And I'm like, what is wrong? Usually it's 90%. So something is happening. And then I start listening to my body, like what my body needs. Maybe I pushed it too much by trainings or some work or something. And it's like controlling both sides. It's not like, am I healthy? But it's also like, am I really not too stressed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would consider myself a stressed person, not a stressful, but a stressed person. So that you may perceive me as a not stressed person because I'm usually very calm, relaxed, and happy when I'm talking about this.
Yes.
But if something it's a little bit off what I really feel my thing, I can be very, very stressed.
Okay.
And I do not meditate because one thing I found with meditation is it's a very long reward loop. So we all usually people only remind themselves about meditation when then they need them. You need it to work, but it doesn't work that way. You need to keep on doing. So what I found is breathing, just putting the breathing side of it and tracking my heart rate. Is when I have my Garmin, I have just 3 things hours.
Yes.
On the let's call the major screen, the amount of that I run and my immediate heart rate. So I'm always checking my watch, not for the hours, but for the heart rate and see, well, yeah, I'm beating at these beats per minute. I feel like it. Yeah, good. And it helps me to breathe. And when I breathe, especially one type of breathing that Andrew Huberman published about, which is the functional side, which is you breathe in and then you just take an extra, like a forceful breathing. And that seems to be the best way to breathe to relax your biology, let's say.
Yeah.
I found that my heart rate drops. And when it's in that range that I like high 40s, low 50s, well, that's a good one. So I really feel kind of in control and calm when I'm talking about performance and human behavior and making.
Because you're in your comfort zone, right? Like you have a lot of information.
I would not say only in the comfort zone, but rather in the natural happy place.
Okay.
Even if it's not comfort. But being a doctor is. I found it the first time I went to witness a run. I arrived there and was people with all sort of colorful shirts, and they were all smiling and happy. Now, geez, they are happy. And then it just came to me that a doctor is someone that, by definition, is helping people that are not happy. So it's a very sad environment, let's say. So that's another reason why I wanted to move from MD to, well, I'm still an MD, but more on the performance, because then people are happy. It's towards a happy goal, a happy objective. And so it's when you are dealing with complexities and chronic, it's kind of not comfortable because you're dealing with people not feeling well I feel it's more about being in their natural, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you deal with patients. What are you finding is the most common? Is it like a common thread when people come to you and say, I want to improve my performance? That you find, hey, this is a common thread that most people are getting wrong in terms of a behavior that they could improve. What is the most common stuff?
Yeah, focusing on the small things. So if you live in your house and the walls are crumbling, you should not be concerned about the paint that you'll choose for one wall, right? You need to focus on the pillars and make sure that you have everything right. So it's about the sleep, it's about the recovery, it's about the sleep, it's about the nutrition, it's about the moving, not necessarily exercise, by having a stand-up desk or having walking meetings. It's enough movement to have a positive impact.
Yeah.
And then have your, let's say, work on your mind, like breathe.
Yeah.
There's a thing called, I don't know if you're aware of it, email apnea.
Email apnea.
Yeah, so apnea.
Yeah.
So 80% of people hold their breath when they are replying emails.
Oh, wow.
So if you
Pay
consider,
attention to that.
no, really, if you think about last time you were sitting, just it's not just email, it's texting.
Yeah.
You're not breathing calmly. You're,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So just by breathing, which calms you, it's eating right, because our brain is always one cell talking to another, like millions of cells talking. But it's if you don't have the things, the words and the letters to make they won't talk. So decision, emotion, etc. will be off. Creativity will be off. It's about moving your body and resting.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, just jumping on that, it's like, stress is kind of this villain at the moment, and I'm not sure that stress is bad. So I think that all stress is stress. It's the same. You can have physical stress in terms of exercise. You can have work stress, but it's the time that you're exposed to stress, right? Like you should expose yourself to some stress out of your comfort zone, challenging, but then you have to build in recovery structures for yourself. You have to build in like positive input in terms of the food that you eat. You have to monitor in terms of how much alcohol that you might be taking, or when to take that, or what the event is around that, or what it generates for you. Like for me, like it's a whiskey on a Friday night. It's like the best thing ever, right? Like, so it's about like, what is your recovery program look like more than your stress program? And so, because I think that it's you through work, you've got to go through some stressful times. You're trying to hit a deadline, you're trying to launch something big, you're trying to make a change in the world. That's a stress. And so I think that what people don't understand is recovery programs rather than stress programs.
Yeah, you should recover as much as you need to maintain your level of stress. That's a biological thing. That's burnout. Burnout is not a mental health issue. Is actually your system, your body, your brain, and your mind stop being able to recover and replenish everything that we are burning on our pursuit to our goals.
Yeah.
So if you have to deliver that deadline in a month, and you need to, work 20 hours per day in a month, that should be fine. If then it's not fine, but you may be able to minimize the impact if then you take 1 month on a recovery protocol.
Yeah.
Usually you don't. You just run one project after another, right?
If you think about that from an employee's perspective, like, is that you might have a lot of flexibility to build in that recovery for yourself as a leader, right? But staff who are contracted on a 9 to 5 and sometimes go over that is they might not see the flexibility to build in their recovery programs for themselves. Like, I worked late last night. I want to come in late today. I haven't got to my surfing lesson this week. I haven't got to my jiu-jitsu. I haven't got to my painting. I haven't got to these other things that make me whole in terms of recovery. And so I think that, so as leaders, we sort of have to be cognizant of what we're asking and how we're building the recovery for people. We're very good at building the stress for people, but not very good at building the recovery. So it was like really cool to hear that, like, okay, we go for a hike, we do something completely different. But sort of how do you handle staff who are burning out around you, who don't understand their own stress? Have you had that?
Yeah, so that is the thing. I think like what startup founders and leaders used and still are doing is to show how much they're working. and how much energy they are putting, and then that others would follow them, right? And then it's endless, right? So if you show this example, everyone will follow this example. And I used to do the same, only working and being active all the time, no offline time. But then I realized that it's not healthy for me, and I started offering for some people, and we have some people, it's like, for example, my colleagues takes a few days off because family is visiting, and she's like, yes, I'm on holidays, but it's okay, I will do this work, I will reply my email myself. And I'm like, why, you're on holiday? No, I will do it because it's already
I'm a good employee, look at me.
yeah, it's
like,
already the culture that I can do everything, right? Why
Yeah.
would I give, my task to someone else? I'm not a good one then anymore.
Yeah.
And it was very sad for me. And I think what I changed is just like showing that, look, in the middle of the day, I'm going for the swimming classes. So if I do that, you're allowed to do this, right? I mean, you can do it. And if I'm feeling sick, I'm not going to office, and I'm not pretending I'm good, because I'm not. I need to recover, right?
Yes.
And everyone can support you and just say, and not, I think we have this like feeling of being ashamed to ask for help, and this, as if this shows that we're not good or strong enough, and this is the most unhealthy thing you can do.
Yeah, I had a similar experience actually. We had an open plan office in a startup that I worked in. The founder sort of sat 5 desks away from me, and I felt this constant pressure, like, he's there, I've got to work. This, like, if I wasn't working, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I'd have to actually leave my desk. I'd have to go somewhere because I didn't want to be around him. And then, like, I wasn't completely locked into solving something that we were busy with. And so there was this layer. And then we were traveling together on a business trip. And, a couple whiskeys later, he's like, I have to work so hard to look busy all the time. He told me that he has to work hard to look busy all the time because he has to fill his day, because he's got this pressure of everyone thinks he works at this like crazy level the whole time. And then he's worried that if he takes time off, then people are going to realize that he's not working all the time. And it's just like, it's this crazy culture. And it's just, I was feeling pressure that he was putting on himself and trying to match that, and thinking you're not good enough. I'm not. You can definitely be replaced, because if he's working at these type of hours and these type of days, then. But he's feeling the same thing in his own company, which was like absolutely crazy. So, it's insane. So like stress for me is like a mad one to manage, and the culture around stress and what we should promote in terms of leadership. I think there's like. Work-life integration and not balance, and figuring out how those two things come together, and saying like, we want people to perform really well. We have a huge amount of trust that you will perform really well, and you remove a lot of like the contractual protection that you have around employment. You say, hey, from the day I said yes to hiring you, we trust you. So you work at this organization. So don't worry about probation periods. Don't worry about these things. Start working today, start performing immediately. But on the same time, we want you to manage yourself really well. Sick days don't come to work. Holidays don't answer emails. If you've been working like really late hours for a long period of time, we're completely cool if you phone in that you're not going to come. If the classes that you can only get to are middle of the day, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that it's building these cultures around this needs to be more vocal, because we used to champion the guy who works until 3 a.m. every night. Now we need to start championing the people who look after themselves as like solid leaders and balanced leaders.
Yeah.
And I saw so many times that people are doing extra work at their probation time. And after that, everything is declining, right? Because they prove they can stay at this company, and then, okay, it's time to relax, Why to do that, right?
Exactly.
It's just like very short.
Let's be consistent, like do like a solid like 8 hours every single day is better than like blowing the lights out in the first 3 months, and then the expectation changes. It'll ruin the relationship later, right? Like, you showed me this person, but now you're this person, but I kind of want the other person back. So it's a little bit crazy.
It comes down to the ideal is not what you should do, but rather what you can do consistently. It comes with work behavior. It comes with recovery plan, so exercise. If you cannot run, okay, that's okay. If what can you do? What do you like to do? What's the low-hanging fruits? And let's focus on not the ideal scenarios, because if you would ask what's the best recovery protocol, well, I could give you 500 things, would cost $2 million. and you say, well, I cannot do
Yeah,
it.
there's that $2 million guy, right? Like he's built a health around $2 million, right? Like
Exactly.
it can be done.
What can you apply to your personal life, to your work, to your family? Maybe it's just 5 minutes sitting down and writing things that you want to say to X, Y, and Z, but you just cannot say it because it will hunt you back. So just write it down, burn it, like what we call the mind dump, and that may be enough to reduce so much the stress level, to enjoy more the family time, to work better, to sleep better. Let's focus on what can we do, not what should we do.
Yeah. And the why behind the doing, right? Like, why are we doing this thing, right? Like I want to be physically healthy so that I can perform at a higher level, so I can be present for my family, so that I can do really well in the workplace. Like, those are factors for me, and so that's why I do it. And that's why you get up on the crappy days, and that's why you flip the shower to cold. That's why you go and learn some crazy new sport, or that you immerse yourself in a crowd of people that might intimidate you. There's why elements to that are going to make you better at the end of the day. Yeah.
And I think another answer to why it could be because others do that, and it's not others like other people, but your friends. And I think this is like what is really working very well at Founders Group. It's like in the morning at 7 a.m., 3 times per week, we're having this morning exercises at 7 a.m. And usually, like, I don't know, 5, 7 people are there. And most of the time, like for me, it's like, should I really go there? Maybe I will have my yoga and it will be enough. But then I know that I will meet other people and they will be doing it and then talking about it. And I want to be with them, right? So it's a very good reason for me to go and join them. Same hiking on weekends or something. Maybe I would just like to read a book, but I can do it later because I will miss this opportunity to hang out with amazing people, right? So I think it's also could be a very good way to motivate yourself.
Yeah, sure,
right?
definitely.
So I think we've spoken a lot, like in sort of broad terms around. I think the summary for me in this is like, do things consistently, track and monitor what you're doing, so that you get some sort of feedback around that effort, and building the why of these things in terms of having a very clear idea of the why of this, and build a really solid recovery program attached to the stress that you want to build. I don't know if you guys want to add anything to sort of close off.
No, just make a decision of going beyond average, and that you want to prime your human performance and to achieve whatever your wild dream is. Just not to do things because our friends do. Just what do we want? What do I envision? And that will guide the decision that we make. Will definitely be happier at that place.
And so how do people find you to start that journey, right? Like, how do we reach out to you,
the easiest
Doctor?
way is either on social media at biohackingmd, or through primehumanperformance.com.
Okay, that's very awesome. And in any sort of parting words from a recruitment perspective, what should we do around our hiring to make sure that we're getting like-minded individuals? Like, anything there?
I think we can ask, simply ask about what you do in your leisure time. And if you see that, like, watching movies, traveling, it's like most common answer, you know that the person is not doing anything for themselves, right? So you really should get some answers, or at least, like, maybe an amazing book was read about the breath work or meditation, and the person is thinking about starting this experience. So it's already a good sign, because you cannot force people who are totally thinking totally opposite or so. And I think it's like my this year understanding and insight is like, we need to love ourselves, right? No one will do that for us. And if we don't love our body and mind, so what is it about? Why are we living then, right? So
I love yourself is such a big one. Like, I think, we can do all of these things, but the reason we're doing this is for ourselves. And like, I've looked back on myself as a younger person, I think, like, I really didn't appreciate myself then.
Exactly.
And what I was doing and what I was trying to achieve. And then even further back, I've been, working with a life coach has been like a game changer for me mentally. And he said, hey man, you need to go back to the 9-year-old, because there's some stuff that's developed here in you that's not true. And you need to go back to the 9-year-old kid, and you need to get yourself, and you give that guy a hug, and you say, hey man, you did a really good job. Just look where you've ended up. And that for me was like this mind-opening thing. It's like, oh yeah, I do really love myself, and that's super valuable. I think the Hooters are letting us know here that the show's over. But yeah, thanks so much for coming in today. It's been like really great to chat to you. And
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. Cool.